Here's how you can make videos using OpusClip. And not only that, videos that can get you views. I'm here once again with Roberto Blake, my Valentine, I guess, since this is Valentine's Day. But you know what? We are here to do what we love to do, and that's help you. And, you know, you could say that, Roberto, but here we are. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about how you can go from video idea to actual content using OpusClip. So, Roberto, I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
Walk me through what you normally do. I'm going to just pick one at random here. It'll be where you're explaining the short splits. So we're going to go to Opus, and we're going to drop the link. Now, a lot of people know Opus. They know this step. But what do you do that takes this a step farther, right? So right now, it's loaded. We have everything we have.
Well, right now, I immediately go to, I make sure I'm on clip anything instead of default.
Okay.
So I go and make sure I'm on clip anything instead of clip basic or auto. Then instead of clip length being on auto, I actually go here and actually select 30 to 59 and actually 60 to 89 and 90 to 3 minutes.
Now, what's your logic between doing that and just general audio? I'm curious.
And I also usually get rid of the 30 seconds or under for me. I usually get rid of that because I am not concise enough for that.
I'll just put it in. Who knows? Maybe it'll find something. But what do you do for your best results? I'm very curious here because I've seen a lot of people say, you know, you can let it detect it. I've seen some people say you should really manually select. What is
I manually select most of the time, and I find that I tend to get better results with that. And then in terms of clip anything, I usually, you know, to be honest with you, I tell it what I'm trying to achieve. I tell it kind of who I'm trying to help. So I would rather reverse engineer less of what I want versus what's valuable to the audience.
In fact, I want you to say that again, because I feel like that's something people get kind of messed up on. So when you're finding these things, you know your own opinions, but you think of the audience first and foremost. Can you explain why?
My entire belief and philosophy of content creation is an audience first approach, not a creator first approach. So instead of thinking about what I want or what I believe or what I want to put out there, I think about what the person watching will most value. If it was entertainment, what keeps them the most interested, excited? What would they enjoy? If it's education, what gives them the most real, actionable, like proof of something or something that they can do or really solidifies something down, like a soundbite like mine. Like if I say, oh, the most important thing to grow a YouTube channel is click, watch, repeat. If you can get the click, you can get them to watch to the end, and you can get them to repeat coming back to your videos over and over again. How can you possibly lose at YouTube? Stop chasing the algorithm. Stop hunting hacks. Stop hunting for every guru under the sun. You literally need to just optimize around click, watch, repeat. You cannot lose at YouTube if people are clicking on your videos, watching them to the end, and repeatedly coming back for more. You cannot lose that way. Simplify the YouTube algorithm to that.
No, hard to agree.
See, that's a soundbite that we're going to be able to use for shorts later. We're going to be able to use that for shorts later of literally how to win at YouTube, how to beat the YouTube algorithm, how does the YouTube algorithm work, blah, 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 how to actually grow a YouTube channel. We literally have a soundbite now for that. Yeah. So I think about these things and I try to get OpusClip to help me reverse engineer what gives my audience the most value. So I always position my clipping from that instead of just the, ooh, I like this, ooh, I like that. And so I think that's the opposite of what most creators do in general.
No, I don't think you're wrong on that. So we know this content. This is a tutorial based, but it was also kind of interview. So let's add interview. It's also informative and educational. And then we show screen. So it would also be beneficial maybe to say marketing and webinar. So those are three we could pick. And each of these, if you didn't know, they all have different settings, right? So we could do a best scene compilation, which maybe that's something we're looking for. We could limit it to only be an emotional, top moment, viral. These are all important things that you can actually optimize for. So if you're not getting the results you want, let's say you want a compilation from an interview, you should go in here and do the best scenes compilation, turn off the others, or vice versa. If you're only looking for top moments, that's a way you can go deeper within OpusClip, getting those more tailored results. And because this was you breaking down what your short split strategy is, Roberto, in that case, I'm sure when you're thinking of how can I add value to the viewer, you kind of think of how we could prompt that. Because this is when you broke it down all the way through from what is it to how much people are making to how others could do it. So
I would
with
probably
that
put in here
mindset,
mentions of short splits. I would put in here mentions of YouTube metrics. And I would probably put in here mentions. I'd probably put in here mentions of how to get more views.
very solid start. And next thing I would say is, do you process the whole time? What are your thoughts and philosophy here?
In my case, I process the whole time.
I tend to do that too. But what I will tell you is, if you know you have a 5-minute welcome screen, you can just trim that. I've seen someone say, well, I have a welcome screen. And if you know the time, if it's that 5 minutes, then just all you can do, drag here, cut it out. And if you have like an end card or you're just reading sponsors and you know that, drag it out. And that can save you credits. And I know that's something people wonder about and think about. So that's something just really quick and actionable you can do. Now, we have some, because this is the Opus channel, I already have a preset, and it's the OpusClip preset. But there also, if you're just joining us, because I saw a few people say first stream, there are the defaults. They're adding new ones here, which you can check with a new. My best advice, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Roberto, is the quick presets are good to get you started, but you should definitely customize it.
I agree. I have mine more or less locked in, custom to how I want it, and I have the presets. I have the aspect ratio locked in for that 9:16. I have the colors that I want to use for mine. So that is how I'm thinking of it. And I just go ahead and lock those in. I would also, in general, just recommend that people know things like what fonts they want, what their colors are, have those like hex color and values from their branding in place. Like, you know me, I have a graphic design background, so I'm huge on branding. I just want everything to be consistent.
And we'll show you how you can set that up in just a bit. But with our preset, since these will go to the OpusClip YouTube channel, we have our prompt in. And if you need more help, you really should check out their prompt guide. It is very helpful. It even has, I think it's still a video with our good friend Nick. Yes, it is. So there are a lot of resources that can get you going. We have worked on this with Roberto. Let's hit get clips in one click. And while that's going, you know, on the side here is your asset library. This is where you can add in your own custom fonts. You can add in your media, your video. You can teach it brand vocabulary. So like my name often gets misspelled with a C, so I make sure it's with a K. Similar here, you'll see those things. You can add curse words. I won't show that because we like monetization here on YouTube, but there are words here by default. You can add your own in. So these are definitely things you can take advantage of. And then for brand template, this is where if you want to change what it looks like, if you want to change, you know, the layout, this goes into some of those customization. I already know there are videos dedicated on the channel. I'll make sure to put a card on screen if you're watching the replay. And if you're watching live, don't worry. We're going to still talk about some of the things. So while this is loading, Roberto, you know, people are wondering, you know, we've talked about the short splits, and I always like to go back to those comments. And they said, well, Roberto, you're such an engaging speaker naturally. Like, what do I do if I'm not that good yet?
I mean, in general,
what are your thoughts?
I mean, in general, how do you expect to get good if you're not practicing with it? My general thought would be that I tell people all the time that if you, like, when I talk about the make 100 crappy videos strategy, in general, I'm talking about improvement. And while we could look at that from a upload to YouTube long form standpoint, nobody ever said it couldn't mean that you don't literally spend the next 100 days practicing your abilities to speak to an audience and speak on camera, or even do short form through Instagram stories, which is low lift, low anxiety, and will go away in 24 hours when you post over there. And so that at least gets you used to, you know, talking to a camera, even in the case of it being your phone, without feeling like a lunatic or a maniac, and you just talk to the phone. And then you also make sure that you are practicing your speech cadence and everything. My first videos were horrible. My videos were god awful. I had no energy. I was stiff on camera. I didn't care nearly enough about my on-camera appearance back then either. And so my early videos are kind of embarrassing. I just leave them up as a record, and I use it to always just tell people whatever excuses you're making, your videos will never be as bad as my first 100 videos, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and I think, the reason I was chuckling there, it's like there are times where I'm like, note to self, should have ironed my shirt before making this video. And like those are the things that are like, if anything, that's how you know it's not AI, because those are
but I look at it now and I've seen videos like that have millions of views from Marquez Brownlee, and I'm literally sitting there watching him in a wrinkled as hell shirt, and I'm like, you're a 20 million subscriber YouTuber, and this is even when he was like 10 million, 5 million. I'm like, you're a 5 million subscriber YouTuber and you're not ironing your shirt before you film?
I mean, like, it goes to show.
Also, it's the last thing anyone's thinking about besides me.
True. And also, like, I guess engagement is engagement. So if someone notices it, well, that's one of those things. Now, we are talking about making videos using OpusClip that can get you views. We just walked through, a pre-recorded stream. We uploaded it from a link from YouTube. It's currently generating as we're having this conversation. But a lot of times people are like, can I do this with new videos? Could I just record to a topic or just record on my computer and upload it? If people are not necessarily going live and are just talking about a topic they're passionate about, do you have any tips for them around how they could make that engaging? It's just them practicing talking to camera directly.
I mean, if you're practicing talking to camera directly, I don't think the goal is to make it engaging right off the back there. I think it's to have something to just be able to go off of and look at yourself. I think it's the wrong goal. I think people are looking at their practice to reflect their end game, and I don't feel like that's the point. I think it's to learn a little bit more about yourself. It's to learn and to look at, oh, I do this on camera. Oh, I have this cadence. Oh, I have this gesture. Oh, then you improve it. I don't think it's to get to the end goal. I think it's to have something to audit, something to review, something to look at. I think you're supposed to not be good at it.
I asked that because we had a comment about someone who is struggling getting practice in, but also having a family and a business there. And you've mentioned in a previous, stream that there are some people that only have the time they have. So I think that's where that question came
from that, it's that it's not about becoming more engaging. It's that you will attract who your personality and your style is able to if you just get used to performing that organically and authentically by repetition. I'll give you an example. Everyone likes to bring up, this may not be everybody's cup of tea. Everybody always brings up this YouTuber, Penguin Zero, aka Charlie White, aka Moist Critical. And it's because he does this deadpan monotone delivery. He's been doing that since he started back in, I think, 2008 with YouTube. And he does that, and people bring it up because he's like a 10 million subscriber YouTuber. He gets millions upon millions of views. And it feels like he does everything low effort, monotone, low energy. That's his whole shtick. That's his whole gimmick. He's not trying to be engaging, but yet he's attracted an audience without trying to be engaging. Now, some of that is a performance-based shtick that he's just now become known for, but he's not going out of his way and he's not changing anything about himself. And that's kind of the point here, is he just kept performing that and it attracted who it'd attract. There are people who don't like PewDiePie screaming and yelling at the camera and being flamboyant. That was a caricature because he's actually very quiet, very shy, and very introverted. But he kind of felt self-conscious about himself about that, and that's not entertaining, and that he wouldn't watch someone like that. So he was doing that. Now he's kind of sort of retired to being a family vlogger, and now he just gets to be Felix Schellberg. He doesn't have to scream or yell at the camera for children anymore. He gets to be a husband and a dad, and he gets to live his life, and now he's doing that. And yeah, it gets less views, but he's getting the audience that merits and that attracts. So my point with bringing up these two radical examples, even though they're huge, big YouTubers that have more views than all of us combined, is just to making a point that they got there, and they got there by different methods. PewDiePie played a character, changed aspects of his personality or exaggerated them at least, or played a character. And when he stopped doing that, he got what his true audience is, and it's considerably smaller. Charlie White is basically theoretically 100% himself, or is just still carrying on this thing that he built a decade ago, and it still gets views, but it goes against the grain of what most of us would find engaging or attractive from somebody. Most of us don't like a monotone voice. Just think about it like this. Before him, if you are a millennial or you're a Gen Xer, you remember Ben Stein, and how he made a shtick in Hollywood out of making his voice monotone and doing
Yeah.
Bueller, like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It was like, it's a whole thing, and we all remember him for it. He's literally the guy. Before that, I think he was in The Wonder Years as a teacher, and again, the whole thing was his monotone voice, and that became his gimmick. So people will be attracted to whatever they're attracted to. So use your authenticity as a funnel and a filter. I think people sometimes think of how they're going to change themselves to get more views instead of just understanding and accepting that there may be a ceiling for what they're able to attract if they're going to be authentic. And I think that there's a difference between changing yourself versus growing as a person. It's okay that you might just happen to grow out of a person. You might come out of your shell. But if you're not making something as you are, that's not going to happen either.
Very fair. I asked that because I feel that's something, it's a very newer creator mindset, is like, how much is too much? How do I amplify what I'm trying to do? And your advice is, when you're practicing, without, obviously, if you have the time, good. But if you are only limited to, if you aren't limited, you should really just focusing on getting better. So I'm seeing people are saying, Roberto, if you could turn your audio up just a tad. But, I think now? You were coming in fine for me, but let us know in chat.
All right.
Someone said he was perfect for the eye drop commercials, going back to your comment earlier on Ben. And I
Ben
think
Stein's money. Yeah,
yes.
Ben Stein. Yeah. I remember the show from Comedy Central too, Ben Stein's Money. That was fun.
But there is a way you could be memorable without having to go overboard. And I think that, as YouTube is getting better, and, we talked a lot about technical quality has been elevated a lot. Those personal things like that can be all the difference. And I've said this on streams before. I don't know if I've said it on OpusClip, but Hollywood spends millions of dollars to come across authentic, and creators, we have that in spades for free. So like, in your chase,
daytime talk shows and nighttime talk shows are dying, and YouTube commentary is thriving.
And I mean, it's a situation of they're trying so hard to be authentic, and it's not that they're not, but it's a lot easier when it's just yourself telling what you feel, doing your research, in your own room. Like, there's a reason they're trying to emulate what we're doing here. And it is, in a lot of ways, kind of circular, right? Because in a lot of ways, live streams can remind people of talk shows past, podcast reminds people of talk radio. It's all really a circle of content. But I think as people are here, and feel free to ask your questions as well, because we take a lot of the questions from you in the chat, whether it's live or in the replay.
Keep them coming.
And we had another question, and this one was around your short split strategy. Everyone, it's easy to teach a strategy, but how did you come up with it? Because people are like, it's so good. What made you curious on it? They're wondering how you actually came up with the short split strategy.
It's working with creators. I work with, over 100 creators a year. I've coached well over 700 creators now. YouTube Shorts has only been around for 2021, like 5 years now or so, about roughly 5 years. It's been
outside of India, yes, because I believe it was like a beta program back in 2020.
Yeah, exactly, outside of India. And then the current monetization has only really been around since 2023. So less than 3 years of the proper monetization on ad sharing, which I debuted when I interviewed Amjad Anif, the VP of Creator Product at YouTube. So he's in the leadership chain at YouTube. I got to interview him twice, and I got to announce YouTube Shorts monetization with him on my channel. So I looked at it holistically, and I'm like, I know how to help creators be successful in long form. I've been doing that for a very long time. I know how to help creators be successful in live streaming. I cracked that, especially working with YouTube gamers and YouTube podcasters. I felt like I had a solid, solid thesis for that. I'd cracked that. I'd even cracked it for myself with some of my live streams, even having 100,000 view plus replays. I have like quite a few live streams with that. So it occurred to me that I'm like, there's nobody who truly has, in my mind, real solid answers, a duplicatable turnkey process around shorts, and no one is bothered to roadmap, explore, and break down all these things with shorts. So I worked with my clients. I looked at what was succeeding, what wasn't. I reverse engineered it. I looked at every single objection. I literally put hundreds of questions, hundreds of objections into a spreadsheet I was tracking from X and from looking at people in Reddit. And I talked to wonderful people off the record, like Jenny Hoyos, for example. I spent hours talking with Jenny at conferences like Vid Summit. I watched every single keynote around YouTube Shorts at Vid Summit for the last 4 years. And I implemented with my clients in the field methodologies and things until I had what I felt were real answers. And so we did battle testing. And then I wanted to push the upper limits of things, and I had them go aggressive. And then we tracked the results, and I begged people to let me share the results publicly. And that's how we got to the short split strategy. I wanted to answer the same things we've answered for regular YouTube. I think it's pretty solid that everyone knows for long form YouTube videos that if you wanted to grow on YouTube and you could do it without compromises on if you had turnkey production, you have good cameras and lights always set up. We all know that if you can do it, and we've watched the news and politics channels get generational wealth the last couple of years here. If you could go daily, you go daily. If you could do it. And if you could literally go daily 3 times a day or do a live stream morning show and chop it up. You and I have watched Philip DeFranco for years do a Monday through Friday show for years and not get punished for uploading every day to YouTube. We've watched that for years. If anything, he gets punished whenever he goes on vacation. Like we watched that. We watched that for years. We watched news people like the Young Turks or Tim Pool do multiple uploads a day for years without being punished for it on the same channel. We've watched that. So it occurred to me, we've watched people cut up their live shows. We've watched the late night show channels do multiple uploads of clips a day. So you and I know that on long form that was long since debunked as far as any damage for uploading multiple times a day. Yet I saw people thinking that YouTube Shorts is with Shorts, let me just upload a couple of times a week. And I was like, well, that's clearly not doing it. It's like, and short form is supposed to be easier to make long form, and it actually is in most cases. Well, what's the upper limit of that? So pushing people like, no, let's just go ahead and whatever you think is the weekly cadence of the maximum weekly cadence of YouTube, let's turn it into the maximum daily cadence of shorts, because I also measured and looked at what was working in Instagram and in TikTok, and it was multiples a day. And the quality over quantity thesis is not an expectation people had from shorts. In fact, it's the opposite. That's why the YouTube channels and TikTokers who were doing really raw, authentic content constantly with YouTube Shorts were winning. I looked at people like Jordan Howlett, sometimes called Jordan the Stallion. I looked at the anime YouTubers. I looked at the facts YouTubers who just do weird facts or celebrity news. And I watched and I was like, these people are uploading multiple times a day and they're not losing anything for it. They're getting all of this. Then I looked at and had audits with my clients. I saw people and what the RPMs were. And I'm like, okay, wait, Shorts is not like 1 cent RPMs anymore. It's 10 to 50 cent RPMs now. And I realized that when the shorts weren't making money beyond the bonuses, everyone was yelling about it on Twitter. And then I realized, oh, now that it's making money, they're all gatekeeping and not telling anybody because they're defending their territory. Aha. So I was like, okay. I also did the math. On average, I was seeing creators who do shorts, not every creator, certainly not me, and not every, but I saw small creators and I was like, new YouTubers, when the difference when they do upload shorts versus long form, I saw that on average, they were getting 10 to 100 to 500 times more views on their shorts than their long form. And it occurred to me that that differential, the difference in the RPMs becomes irrelevant.
True.
And then I made a solid prediction. I said, Neil Mohan is going to bring more advertisers to YouTube. Millennial and Gen Z marketers are going to embrace short form because they grew up with it. They're going to bring more advertising dollars to YouTube. I predicted that TikTok is probably going to screw up in the US transition and more of its audience will find its way to YouTube, and YouTube and Meta will be the winners in that one. So it's like more shorts ad revenue go to YouTube. So I made a bet and I made a prediction on that and said, it would behoove people to not wait for that to happen and not wait for RPMs to normalize to 30 cents to a dollar, which is when everyone will care. They should build a shorts audience now in anticipation of it going to 30 cents to a dollar, because YouTubers who only jumped on the bandwagon when YouTube was profitable did not get to, in many cases, grow as fast or as quickly as YouTubers who put in the sweat equity before YouTube became wildly profitable and became an accomplished fact. People who built a fan base before it was popular to do it had an institutional advantage. I believe that shorts creators who start now will have an institutional advantage. So I've reverse engineered every problem people complain about. How much shorts should I upload? What should the view versus swipe away metric be? What about quality over quantity? What about what about the revenue side? What about the how can we upload all at once, or do we have to spread them out? I went through the trouble of building a strategy that answers for every single question. I would challenge someone in the chat. You can ask me any question you want about YouTube Shorts. We battle tested and figured out some thesis. It's not perfect. It will not work for every single creator under the sun, but we figured out a general thesis for what could
People
work,
already
what
have
should
questions.
work, and why to do certain things. So we figured out upload cadence. We said 1 to 3 a day is a minimum. The sweet spot is 3 to 5. Aggressive growth is 5 to 8 across most. If you're education, it's 1 to 3. If you're lifestyle, you want to go more with the 5 to 8 or 8 to 12. If you're entertainment, you want to be between 3 and 8 a day on shorts. How far to spread them out? 35 to 60 minutes apart is a good cadence for most people. Best time to upload doesn't really matter in theory. If it would be on your audience
Question
being
on
active.
that
Yeah.
is, should they stagger the releases throughout the day?
I just said that. Yeah.
But
35 minutes to
Okay.
60 minutes apart throughout the day.
But is that on one platform? That was my next question.
On YouTube, on any and all of your platforms, because I would just put it in Opus and I would just schedule them throughout the day, and they can go out on all the platforms at the same time. And it's not taking a view from one platform to another. It's just reaching people where they are. And then every platform is building profiles on user behavior slightly differently. And so again, you're not stealing a view from YouTube when you post to TikTok, because you're reaching someone that you'll never reach on YouTube because they're on TikTok right now, and vice versa. So there's also not necessarily the audience overlap between platforms and bleed that you think there is. There's also again, YouTube has a maximum length for shorts of 3 minutes, but I've seen every length of video for shorts under 3 minutes work for creators. Some creators do 2 minutes, some creators do under a minute, some do 45 seconds. And I've seen it, whether it's entertainment, like gaming creators, whether it's education, whether it's lifestyle, especially in the beauty, fitness, and travel niches. So these things work. They're just nuances that change a little bit for entertainment, education, and lifestyle. Some of the nuances, habits, and audience adjustment matters a little bit, but those things are just specific to the genre of content you're making.
Very fair. We also, as we've talked about it, we have our file here loaded. I know you had some examples. People want to know, because, we put it in, we're talking about how to make videos. How do you pick videos that can get views? And I know you had a screen share earlier. Like, how do you decide what's best for your audience? What's your whole thought process on picking something?
It depends on what your goal is, because even with Taking Mine, you can share the screen if you want, but Taking Mine, I'm not optimizing for views anyway for mine. And my channel's never been optimized for views. My channel's optimized for revenue anyway. My channel optimizes far more on revenue and reputation than it ever has on reach. I won't name any names, but if I wanted to get reach, I would make clickbait videos, and I would look and sound a lot more like a used car salesman than I sound like a stodgy photography professor, which is probably closer to what I am. Instead of sounding like a stodgy photography professor or your favorite graphic design and advertising professor in college, that actually will get you a job when you leave, instead of sounding like that guy, I would sound much more like a slickster used car salesman, or I'd be making videos about how teenagers can make money on YouTube without uploading videos, or how teenagers can make the laziest way they could get views, viral views on YouTube. I'd be making that content if I cared about views. I'd be making content goes, oh, the algorithm changed, the algorithm changed, the algorithm changed. I'd be making that content, but I don't care about that. So if you look at what I do care about, I care about things like helping people genuinely with their productivity. So, for example, in this one, I'm at YouTube headquarters in one of their event halls, I believe on the 3rd floor. And in this video, you know, OpusClip determined that this has a very good resonance with the audience, and it addresses a common concern, and that this is helping people with their productivity, and that it also balances the humanity and creativity that can be enhanced with using AI tools like Opus to be more productive. Because in this case, I was speaking to the issues people have with both AI slop, but also the fact that working class creators have issues with time management. And I'm telling people to get rid of tasks they don't like and to focus on their zone of genius. And if you could just eliminate all of your tedious tasks and all your tedious chores with AI and genuinely get to focus all of your creative energy on things you enjoy and that accentuate your human qualities instead of your technical ability, like, you'd be better off. And so I just go more off of, that's a reputation play. That's a connection with my audience play. It's not about me getting the most views possible. But if someone from an entertainment standpoint is trying to do that, it would be like what I coach the gamers that I work with on. They pick highlights out of their gameplay based on what they already know will be a moment that their audience celebrated. And the good news for them is they had chat hyping them up, so they know when a good moment is. So they had real-time audience feedback. If I'm doing it from stage, when I get hoops, hollers, applause, or a good question or a good response from someone who asks a question, I can go off of that in terms of how people respond to it. That's not the same thing as getting views in my case, but also it's short form. The reality is you have to reverse engineer what an abundance of people practically have already watched something about, because shorts, more than any other part of the YouTube algorithm, goes off of people's previous watch history.
Makes sense. Now, you have here, I see the 7 on your
That's how many
screen.
places I posted it to.
If people haven't seen that, I was hoping maybe you could show them what that looks like in a preview here.
Yeah, hang on.
Because people, we have a question.
So
you know,
this is all the accounts that I would be posting it to. In this case, though, it would not be going to this one because that's like my brother's account there. But yeah, this would be all the places it would be going to.
Someone had a question, and this was in another video we did, and they're like, should I schedule my shorts to multiple accounts or use the collaboration feature and do it that way?
Well, for shorts, the invite to collaborations feature is something you'd have to do manually on the back end anyway. And just because you schedule it through Opus wouldn't mean that once it goes out and it's live that you couldn't just go into YouTube on the back end and do the collaborations thing if you wanted to. But
I think they're wondering, should they post to 2 accounts or just use the collaboration?
Not two YouTube accounts, but I'm not posting to 2 YouTube accounts. I'm posting to multiple accounts on other platforms. I'm not posting to 2 YouTube accounts. So yeah, sure. I would use the collaboration feature instead of 2 YouTube accounts. I would just use the collaboration feature. But for other, for your other channels, I would just post to, or sorry, your other platforms. I would just post to your other platforms.
So Monique says, so I can do 2 TikTok accounts. I must be doing something wrong. Homework of the morning.
Yeah, 2 TikTok accounts is fine. My gaming channel guys all do. Yeah, those.
Another thing to keep in mind is it might be, you know, there are different levels of OpusClip. You can always check out if you have the right account for your needs. That's something you can absolutely do. And also do keep in mind that when you're scheduling, you know, I would keep in mind that you should also consider time of day a little bit when you're posting, because I saw a creator's like, I'm posting you know, I start from midnight, and they were posting like 24 shorts a day. And they're like, but my shorts at like the AM hours don't do as well. I'm like, yes,
Have you
because
measured them only off of the last 48 hours, or have you checked 90 days later? Because I'd be more curious about that. Because what I find is the longer a video exists, if it was evergreen instead of topical, it
theirs
matters
was
much less.
topical, but this was a comment, so I couldn't ask much follow ups. That's
Okay.
the downside of a comment.
If it's topical, that matters. And the rule I go with is your audience active, aware, and awake is what I go with, especially if it's topical. But if something's evergreen, like for example, for someone posting an anime facts YouTube video, it's literally not going to matter what time of day it is. If they're posting something about a character and it's not a review of the latest manga or anime arc that's happening, if it's retro, if it's this, or if it's a celebrity scandal from years ago, but there's not a new update or something like that. Anything that's like truly evergreen, the more evergreen something is, the less it's going to matter as time goes on when you actually posted it.
Very true. And I think that, you know, we have a question. What does topical mean?
Topical means that this is something that is more trendy right now. Topical, timely, or tentpole. Evergreen means it's timeless. So primary example is topical is if you're relying on the fact that breaking news happened. So you got topical would be, let me think of something that's topical that won't become evergreen. Topical could be,
I mean, this stream happened on Valentine's Day 26. That gives it a very specific window.
Okay,
That's
well, if
topical
someone makes
for today.
If someone makes a video that is reacting to something that's breaking news that just happened, a topical video would be like when Ryan's Hall Y'all was live streaming about the polar storms. You're not going to be watching that thing as a replay 2 months from now. You're just probably not.
Very true.
That thing has a shelf life of a limited window of time in which you care about it. When I made a video about a news update to the TikTok ban, it got like massive views really quickly, but the influx of those views died off within that week because it's only hot for that week unless something else happens, which nothing did until much, much later, in which case then it did. So, or if you made a video about the fact that YouTube is down or TikTok is down or Twitter is down, that is only relevant in the window of time that that thing is true. So no one's going to care in 2 weeks that you did that, and they're not going to watch it if they see it. So, and they're not going to care. So topical is something that has a very short shelf life in terms of its relevancy. For something to be evergreen, it's timeless. You could think of it in this binary. Is something timely? I care about it now, but I won't a week or two from now. So again, news cycle. Or is something timeless? I'll care about this anytime I see it. A timeless video is how to buy your first home. That's a timeless video. How much of a down payment do you need on a mortgage? How much money should you have by this age saved up? That's a timeless evergreen video. It doesn't matter when you watch it. But if you have a video that is, here's the news update on this policy change for retirees in 2026, it's not relevant in 2028.
Yeah. Like how often, and this is to the audience, I mean, if I saw a video that's how to grow on YouTube and it's from 2014, I'm not necessarily clicking through unless I'm just curious on what's changed so much, but I'm not going to follow the advice because it has been 12 years, right?
Exactly.
And so that is a great example of something that was, in theory, because it could be evergreen for a while, but it became topical the second they put in a date. And that's
Software,
something,
for example, can be evergreen even if it goes 3 years because not everyone will update to the latest version of a software. Some people will hold on and roll back even if they have access to the free updates. Some people are like, no, I hate the update. And everybody who's ever used Windows can attest to that. And so some people will, so again, tutorials I do on a software, even if there is a yearly update with like Adobe, for example, a lot of people will still watch the previous version because there are some people who literally just do not update every year when it comes to their software. They like it the way it is. They know it the way it is, or they've uploaded it on another machine and go, oh, nope, take me back.
I definitely understand that one, because like there are times where a lot of times when I've talked to teams, and you have too, Roberto, software devs will get bored of looking at it the same way, and I'm like, your boredom is my comfort. Please don't.
Yeah, basically, exactly. And again, not everything changes with every update. There's a
Sure.
lot of updates where nothing has literally changed in 2 or 3 years. So this particular thing is still completely relevant, and it's exactly the way it was the year before, 2 years, 3 years. There's nothing that's really changed. There's a new method for removing backgrounds without green screen, but if you're trying to specifically do green screen because that's what you shot on, Andrew, nothing has changed in Premiere Pro for doing green screen in the last 3 years. My tutorial still is getting views to this day for that reason. 400,000 views and counting. When I uploaded it though, it only did 1,500 views the first day. The next day it only did another 100 views. 3 days in, it only did 50 more views. Anyone else would have deleted that video out of embarrassment. How dare you upload this trash performing video to a 600,000 subscriber channel? Like, you must suck. Today it has 440,000 views, and it's basically ranking #1 in Google search for 50 different versions of that query.
And I think there is a lot of, people will say that SEO is dead, but I think it's always been a misunderstanding of what SEO is. When you do SEO right, you're understanding the conversations an audience is having, and you're putting yourself in the conversation.
Mhm.
And the way you know they're having that conversation is just happens to be through search. There's something I keep seeing called GEO or AIEO or AIO. It keeps going back.
It's AEO, which is answer engine optimization.
I've seen all those forums, and each of them have lots of results due to typical SEO, right? So it's one of those situations where until there's a clear winner, feel free to optimize for the AIEO and sometimes Y, I guess, while we're at it. If you understand, you know. But we also had another question, and I thought this one was very fascinating, and I would love your opinion on it, is, I am not an entertainment channel, but it feels like all the advice around shorts is for either gaming or entertainment. What can I do as a DIY channel?
No, not at all. It's just those are the people who let me share their analytics. They feel, I guess, less protective of because gaming is so saturated, I guess they don't see a point. So, but it's like a lot of education channels feel like they have a moat they need to protect. So a lot of them just won't let me share analytics or data on the back end to prove this stuff. But also I share it because, again, gaming and entertainment is the most competitive, most saturated thing. If you can win there, you can win anywhere. It's just different. I have worked with and I've seen education channels win with shorts. You just have to approach it somewhat differently. We see plenty of education people win with short form, especially on Instagram. And there was a point where people were saying TikTok is going to be the new search engine for Gen Z that replaces Google. And it's because they were saying, oh, I'm learning so much on TikTok. I'm learning so much on TikTok. I see people win on short form all the time. Matt Miller's PCs, he at least publicly shares his data and lets me publicly share results. He did short splits on both of his channels, and he went from getting 10,000 views a month to 1 million views a month. And he does things around helping people buy PC parts, and he wins with YouTube Shorts. Larry from Home Rapid Repair has done some short form that helps buyers and people doing DIY and repairing stuff at home without a contractor, without electrocuting themselves or flooding their basement or damaging their property, or failing to pour concrete properly, et cetera, et cetera. He does this stuff to help people with home improvement as a contractor. Now that he's turning the business over to his son, he's going more on the content side. He does things with YouTube Shorts, and he wins, and that's purely education content. Education content that helps people all the time. I've seen it with everybody from business owners like Cody Sanchez. Her shorts do amazing. And she helps people buy boring businesses. She talks about being an operator. She talks about profit margin. She covers all that stuff, and she wins on YouTube Shorts. You got Larry from Home Rapid Repair. He has YouTube Shorts that do well, and he's literally teaching you home improvement, electrical stuff. I've the fitness niche and the health niche and diet niche. That's lifestyle and education. That's winning all the time. It's winning all the time.
Even the dance niche, like people want to relearn one specific move. Guess the beauty of ever looping video is you can just watch and drill and drill.
I've watched choreographers teach breakdancing moves through YouTube Shorts, and it works for them. It works for them. I've watched people teach musicianship and instruments, chords, piano keys in YouTube Shorts, get millions upon millions of views. So it's just that education channels, they think and have a bias toward long form, and they forget that even, by the way, my YouTube tutorial on how to green screen in Adobe Premiere Pro, Andrew, what length do you think that tutorial is?
Probably not too long. Probably
It's
less
90
than,
seconds,
yeah.
and it happens to be widescreen. It could have been a YouTube short and probably have 4 million views, but it is done completely in widescreen. So it's a matter of, do you think you can educate? Remember, Peter McKinnon's value proposition when he started on
2 Minute
YouTube
Tuesday
was supposed to be 2 Minute Tuesday. Now, he didn't live up to the promise of 2 Minute Tuesday. But imagine anybody, I'm watching Piximperfect, the views that they get now, they get more views on their short form than they do on their long form. They struggle to get long form views on 20-minute, beautiful, crafted, produced 20-minute tutorials, and they win on less than 2-minute tutorials in YouTube Shorts. And they get millions of views, sometimes tens of millions of views for that, especially on the replays and the loops for someone trying to do that in real time in Photoshop. So ironically, there's an irony that tutorial content actually can get more views than you could possibly imagine. Because unlike entertainment that can be a one or done, haha, you might actually have to watch the process even in short form multiple times before you actually execute it properly. Same thing for anything that's product driven, anything like home rapid repair for the home improvement stuff. If I'm doing that thing and I'm doing it in real time, I might have to watch that same short 20 times as I'm repairing that thing in my home. Or I might have to open it up again when I get to Lowe's or Home Depot. So I might be saving it and bookmarking it to come back. So I have
cooking channels similarly.
I have an entire playlist that I've saved of literally health and life hacks for wellness and for recipes for my smoothies that all came from YouTube Shorts for my protein smoothies. So that's what I would say to people who are questioning, oh, all the advice is for that. The reason that, and I hear you, by the way, I hear you.
And this wasn't just at you, Roberto. It was like on YouTube, which I tend to, you know.
All the advice is usually geared toward entertainers and kids in their teens and 20s because it's the largest market of disposable watch time. I hate that. But like me and it's Kevin, what's his last name? Kevin Colby, I think it is.
Yes.
He talks to creators over 40. I'm largely talking to creators almost strictly over 30 at this point, unless you're a young hustler. Like, because all I talk about is realistic advice. All I talk about is the working class creator that has a 9-to-5 job in the family. That usually doesn't describe someone in their 20s. It can. You know, if they're a little more traditional, it can, and hats off to them. But usually, if I'm talking about someone who has a bills, 9-to-5 job, rent and mortgage, balancing YouTube with 10 to 20 hours a week of free time, that usually is describing someone in their 30s or 40s much more than it's describing someone in their teens or 20s, and it's not close.
And another thing to think about when it comes to that DIY, those cooking, those, you know, fitness, they have something that a lot of shorts don't necessarily have the ability to tap into, traditional SEO. They still show up in Google search results now.
Yes.
They show up in multiple places. And sometimes what I've noticed is if the shorts feed dries up, the short from search views do very well. So don't discount that either. But if you're wanting to learn more about Roberto and his strategy, Roberto, where can people find you?
They can find me. Wait, don't we still have some time, or is it that you have to go?
No, we are at the end. That's the unfortunate byproduct of starting late.
I hear you. So that's my bad. Technical difficulties. But if anyone wants to find me, you can find me at Roberto Blake everywhere in social media. You can also find me at Roberto Blake on YouTube. And of course, if you want to work with me, if you want to help with long form, short form, live streams, podcast, monetizing your content creation, you can work with me at www.awesomecreatoracademy.com. Also, Andrew, some people don't realize this. I found out, and I realized I checked on this today. I confirmed this with Claude, Grok, and ChatGPT. I'm literally the only person who has a free 30-hour course on YouTube. I'm the only one. I'm the only one in entire creator education. And so I have a 12-week YouTube course that I did that is free on YouTube. It's the second playlist on my YouTube homepage. And I have not plugged that nearly enough that people don't realize that I have 30 hours that is designed for people under 20,000 subscribers.
There you go. And you can also find Roberto here on Saturdays at the OpusClip YouTube channel, where we talk about new updates. We have here that Agent Opus is really good. We have lots of insights. We have things you can try. There are free versions. There are lots of free products within Agent Opus and within OpusClip. But the most important thing is you need to keep posting and learning every time you post. Thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you have a good one. Take care.